Hey there, Christophe from the French Herbal. I'm starting a new book review series. I hope you enjoy it. I have a large library of herbal books, and some of them, quite frankly, are gathering dust. I bought them, I started to read them, and I gave up. I didn't find anything of value in them. Sometimes it's the same information rehashed over and over, which ends up being boring. Others, though, I found quite useful. And there are two types of books I would like to talk about in this series. The first type is what I call reference books. Those are aged by how much flipping of the pages I have done. I have bookmarks everywhere in those books. They look old and used, and actually that's how I like them. The second group contains a very interesting book that I read maybe once, and I took some notes because they contained key pieces of herbal wisdom. I don't need to go back to them over and over necessarily, but I found them quite interesting. So I will include this type of book as well in my future reviews. So the first book that I chose is, I think, one of my all-time favorites. It's actually a masterpiece. This comprehensive textbook, it's called, and bear with me, it's pretty heavy, Principles and Practice of Phytotherapy by Kerry and Simon Mills. And it represents one of the most authoritative and evidence-based resource in modern herbal practice. I think it has become the gold standard for serious practitioners and students of the herbal craft. It seems expensive at first sight. It costs between $100 and $130 depending on the seller, but believe me, it is worth the investment. The second edition is the latest one, is the one you want to get. It's dating from 2013, so it is 13 years old. Let's keep that in mind. First of all, a few words about the authors. Kerry is an Australian herbalist with over 35 years of herbal practice. His credentials are pretty outstanding. He founded and runs the herbal medicine program at the University of New England and directs the Australian College of Phytotherapy. He works for MediHerb, a herbal product company, where he leads research and development. He has written more than 40 research papers and 6 textbooks on herbal medicine. His work and lifetime contributions to herbal medicine have earned him major awards. Quite impressive. Simon Mills is no less impressive. He's a British herbalist who has been practicing since 1977. He studied at Cambridge and qualified through the National Institute of Medical Herbalists in the UK. Mills is a leading figure of the herbal world. He's very well known, and he advised the British government, the House of Lords, on complementary medicine in 2000. Yep, I know. He has also published several important textbooks and clinical research studies, and since 2016, he has worked for Puka Herbs, leading their herbal research initiative, and he became a fellow of the Royal Society of Medicine in 2006. I mean, what else can I say? They are the dudes of herbal medicine. So the book has more than 1,000 pages divided into 3 big sections. Section 1 is about background information. So this is where we start, and it's important to take time to understand this section because it provides the intellectual scaffolding for the rest of the book. It is, if I may say, the soil into which we will plant the seeds of knowledge. It includes some pretty important topics. First of all, a historical overview of major herbal traditions around the world: Greco-Roman, Chinese, Ayurvedic, 19th century North American medicine. I love this part because it demonstrates that we have common themes across cultures and ages. And this is where tradition not only meets science, but also can combine with science to help us to build our practice. Then we have a scary part. You ready? It delves into the chemistry of plants. And some herbalists do not find this section very sexy or appealing. But you know what? We need this knowledge, at least at a high level. In this section, we review the different phytochemical groups, alkaloids, glycosides, tannins, flavonoids, mucilages, etc., and their mechanisms of action. If you do not understand the exact structure of a tannin, that's okay, but you need a minimum of knowledge regarding how they work and how they can help us. And some parts are just fascinating, like how constituents are transformed into the small intestinal tract, then by the gut flora a little further down in the colon, and then they go to the liver, and then they make their way into the kidneys for elimination. So this complex dance of constituents into our bodies is just fascinating to me. And yes, I'm a herbal geek and former engineer, I admit it. Okay, I get excited about this kind of stuff. There's a chapter on the principles of traditional herbal medicine. Big topics like cleansing and removing toxins, using heating remedies to stimulate vitality and digestion, supporting the body with tonics, which are strengthening remedies, the importance of convalescence, which is often neglected these days. I love this chapter because it gives us simple and yet major interventions that we can put in place with pretty much everyone. There's a critical chapter on optimizing herbal safety, and it covers contraindications, adverse effects, herb-drug interactions, working with special populations like kids, pregnant, breastfeeding women, etc. Also discussed here are product quality and contamination, which is very concerning. We see tons of bad products today with long supply chains and questionable traceability. I like this part because it's not overly alarmist. It is actually practical and grounded in reality. Because adverse effects, for instance, they happen once in a while. I have seen my fair share of them throughout the years. And we need to know what to expect when we start our practice. So again, section 1, very important. We lay the foundations. A quick pause to let you know that you can grab my free ebook on preparing herbal teas for the 4 seasons. It's full of simple recipes and blends you can make with herbs you can buy or even grow almost anywhere. The link is right below this episode. I hope you enjoy it. Now, section 2 of the book, this section is about clinical strategies for the most common conditions that we will encounter in our practice. Very solid and built on the experience of those 2 practitioners. It starts with a discussion on dosage for whole herbs, liquid extracts, herbal teas, powders, capsules, standardized extract. And then we move into actual herbal strategies for approximately 100 modern health conditions organized by body system, so digestive, nervous, immune, etc. Let me give you an example. Let's say you need to work with a case of inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Now, that's a medical condition, right? So the physician is the primary contact here. But in a supportive role, the authors give us the levers of the strategy. Even before getting into herbs, it's important to understand the levers. In this example, they suggest immune modulating herbs, since these conditions are often autoimmune in nature, anti-inflammatory herbs to directly calm the inflammation, soft fibers and mucilaginous plants to soothe the mucosa, choleretic and hepatic herbs, they tell us they're very useful, etc., etc. Once we know the levers, then they propose some herbs like boswellia and calendula to calm the inflammation, flaxseed to soothe the mucosa, globe artichoke as liver herbs, etc. And then we get into real case studies with initial intake and follow-up. The recommended herbs come from the English-based tradition with roots in the US, the UK, Australia, in the sense that it's different from herbs we use in France, So, for instance, some herbs like golden seal, Oregon grape, blue flag are mentioned, and they belong more to the US practice. They also use Chinese herbs like Baikal skullcap or Chinese astragalus, and Ayurvedic herbs like Andrographis or Krateva. And they also use herbs from the European practice, a lot of them. And it's all mixed. Now, I practice in the US, so I'm used to this model, no problem. I actually like it. I love the diversity. But if you speak English as a second language and you practice in Italy maybe, or Germany or Switzerland, I don't know, well, just know that the plants used in this book are not necessarily from your tradition, but they are from all over the world. That being said, the clinical strategies still hold wherever you live. For instance, when they suggest Andrographis as a strong antibacterial herb for gut infection, I may choose a combination of oregano and walnut leaf. And I know it's not exactly the same, nothing replaces Andrographis, but I know which levers I need to pull, and I may decide to use local herbs with similar effects. This is, in my opinion, the most valuable part of the book, the strategies, the levers. From two clinical herbalists who've been practicing for decades, I would buy the book just for this part. I mean, of course, the plant monographs are outstanding too, but you can find pretty good monographs if you know where to look, and for free as well. But clinical strategies, well, I mean, this requires the wisdom of the practitioner, and it's not easy to find. Part 3 of the book is the Materia Medica, 50 herbs researched in a lot of detail. Very long monographs covering the most clinically relevant medicinal plants. Each monograph includes botanical and common names, historical and traditional uses across different medical systems, comprehensive phytochemistry and pharmacology, full review of clinical evidence and trials, then dosage recommendations, preparation methods, then safety profile, contraindications, and herb-drug interactions, and more than 10,000 citations if we want to go check the references. Again, very impressive work. These are kind of the ultimate monographs. As of 2013, mind you, so the last 13 years of research will not be present. My conclusion, as you may guess, is that I highly recommend this book for serious herbalists. This is not a book for casual browsing. It's not a book for the coffee table. It's not a book full of poetic descriptions of the plants and pictures and drawings and other herbal ramblings. I mean, I do love herbal ramblings, but this is not it. It demands intellectual engagement. It's a reference book after all, right? For those seeking to understand not just what herbs do, but why and how they work, and how to apply this knowledge safely and effectively in clinical practice based mostly on scientific evidence, then this book is, I think, indispensable. That's it for today. Thanks for being here. I will see you soon for another episode of The French Herbal.